Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me today for the FA Cup review for Stoke away is Drew. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well, my friend. Good to see you both.
Good to see you too. And AJ, how you doing, mate?
All the better going into the fifth round.
Yes. Obviously, before we start today's review, we are recording this just after the FA Cup score has been made. Southampton at home, decent draw for the next round, lads. Are you happy about that, Drew?
Yeah. I mean, we've got to be looking to progress. No disrespect to Southampton, but we need to be winning that game.
Yeah, obviously we'll look forward to previewing that one as it comes up. I believe that game's due to be played on the weekend of the 17th to the 9th of March, depending on if it gets selected on TV or not. We said that last year for this round, and our game got moved to a Thursday night, so who knows? We will see. Hopefully, though, it will be a good one for the Cottagers to move on to the next round. Let's talk about Stoke on Sunday, though. A difficult game. We knew it was going to be a difficult game going in. None of us sort of had us absolutely blowing Stoke out of the water. We knew, they don't say going to Stoke on a rainy Tuesday night is a hard place to be for a reason. But I thought we dealt with it well. I know the scoreline probably suggests the game was a bit tighter than it actually was. But let's get into it and discuss it. AJ will start. Question we always start about, mate. Talking about the squad. I think during the pre-match, you were pretty spot on with what you suggested we were going to see. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I got one player wrong. I did not expect to continue to see a Wobie, but then that's more for me than anything else. Yeah, I expected maybe a cameo from Kearney. Maybe we see a slightly more attacking lineup with King and ESR or somebody else alongside King. But alas, it was a Wobie. It was a deviation of our traditional, well, somewhat traditional double pivot with a Wobie and Reed this time, which was an interesting lineup to see. And all in all, I was pleasantly surprised by a lot of players' performances. But we'll get into that.
Yeah, we do need to get into it because there was a couple of players that I think have done themselves no harm in claiming contention for, maybe getting Premier League time. But there's a couple of players I feel that have probably done themselves a lot of harm in their quest for trying to get some Premier League time. But we'll talk about that in a minute. As I say, Drew, difficult game, Stoke away. We knew it was going to be, as I say. Up until they scored, we were completely in control of the game, but had absolutely nothing in the final third. Are we getting bored of talking about it? Is the fact that we're having that same problem against a struggling championship team a real worry, or do we just look at it that we made 10 changes, so there's going to be some sort of teething issues with that?
Someone on Twitter pointed out, one of the Fulham faithful pointed out, we're still playing like we've got Mitrovic in the centre. I think I messaged you boys and said at one point a couple of crosses has gone into the Stoke box, and if we'd still had the big Serb, he'd have scored both of them. I'm not quite sure what it is. Lack of match sharpness for Muniz, lack of adjustment for us. But I mean, there's no point talking about our striking options. JKA's now been essentially banished to the under-21s. With Muniz coming back, what do you say? I mean, we had more than enough chances to score 3 or 4, but we just lack that. We just lack that cutting edge. I don't want to repeat myself. I mean, there's one thing that has become apparent is that we now seem to have quite a lot of depth on the wings, but when it comes to other particular areas, they've been really shown up. Striker, we knew all about. But fullbacks become, for me, a flashing red light, and defensive midfield as well. But I don't know. I don't know what to say about the strikers anymore, Ash. I really don't. I mean,
Well, I think one of the biggest problems is our quality of ball into box more than anything. We'll talk about what happens as soon as Ray will come on at the end of the game, but Muniz is still struggling for match sharpness, right? He's played 20 minutes total football since he's been back, if that, not even that, right? So it's a bit hard to be pushing him to start a game where he's going to have to be the only outlet, and he was. And I thought he did a decent job against two quite physical central defenders who were brilliant, by the way. If you're a Stoke fan watching this, you'd be nothing but proud of the way your team played on Sunday. I thought they were great. Even their goal that they took was a good counter-attacking bit of play. And
The
for
goal
once,
was excellent.
I'm not sat here moaning about Fulham's lack of defence or lack of anything. They broke well. He took it well. It was gone. It was past the keeper before he even had a chance to react. You can't do much about goals like that. It's frustrating to concede, but you know what? If you're going to score a goal in a cup game, do it the way you did. It was great. What's frustrating is the 20 minutes leading up to the goal, it was all us. A couple of minutes after you scored, you probably had another chance, but then it was all us again until half time. What's frustrating is that our game plan was simple. It was give the ball to Kevin because he was the only one having any luck with the ball. Overlap by Anthony Robinson, who would then put a really poor cross in, or then go back to Kevin, who would try and run it into the box. It just wasn't working. There weren't enough men in the box. There weren't enough bodies sort of trying to make space. One of my biggest pet peeves with Fulham at the moment is the amount of movement off the ball in the final third, and it was almost non-existent in that first half. No wonder we can't find anybody in the box because the people who are in the box are just standing still, waiting for the ball to come to them. It's easy to defend against. Second half, starts, and Stoke had a good 10 minutes. First 10 minutes of that second half, they clearly had been told by their manager to step it up and to stop defending so deep. But then we completely took over again. And before we go into our two goals, obviously, AJ, spoke pre-game about the importance of attitude, not necessarily performance. And we knew that, we often say that you can be outclassed, but you can't be outfought, right? In this game, we know that Fulham are going to be the classier side in the tie, which we were. But Stoke's fight had us really struggling to actually create anything. What were your views on our patterns of play? Because I was getting quite frustrated with it was literally just give the ball to Kevin and hope he can create something.
Well, I don't know if any of you have seen the sort of TikTok/Instagram posts that the players have put out. It seems to be Cuenca, Kevin, and JSA doing a little dance together. And I think it describes our patterns of play perfectly because not one of them was in rhythm with each other. It was all very out of sequence. A lot of players moving at times when they shouldn't, and taking up random positions on the pitch, and ultimately leaving us very exposed, which is a result of pretty much every Stoke opportunity that they got. It seems like this particular 11 wasn't sure how to play with each other, which can only really occur if far too often in training it's the preferred 11 versus secondary 11, for example. And then when you start mixing some of these players together in an actual game, they don't quite know where each other's movement is and stuff like that. That's how the patterns of play looked. And we looked, despite better than Stoke, very, very Championship.
Yeah, I think one of the things we have to talk about was I thought Kevin was great, by the way. I think Kevin he was levels above everybody else on the pitch, and he fully deserved getting the equalising goal. The fact it came from a bit of tenacious play from him, tried to make a quick pass to Muniz, didn't quite work. Straight out to him to have a quick shot. He deserved the goal. We have to talk about the other wing. Oscar Bob, I think, is a good player. I think we have to remember, because there's a lot of people that were bashing him yesterday. He's coming back from a leg break and a serious hamstring injury. He's going to take time to get up to speed of play. He had 3 or 4 moments where he effortlessly just made it past players. At one point, he goes around 3 or 4 players in one go effortlessly. He wasn't doing it like Robinson would do it because he wasn't full breakneck speed, which we know he can do. and you can clearly see he's not 100% confident on his hamstrings just yet because he didn't want to sort of turn those afterburners off. But the concern for me was the overlap from Timothy Castagna. We were moaning about Castagna playing in the Premier League a couple of weeks ago. He was woeful yesterday. He defensively was all over the place. Going forward, I don't think he got a single cross in the box. They either went direct to the keeper or out behind goal, and he made about 7 or 8 crosses, and they were ridiculously bad. He couldn't cross a ballot paper. Like, I wouldn't trust him to vote. That's how bad he was yesterday. And it was really, really frustrating to watch him continuously fluff his lines as soon as he gets to the final ball in the box. AJ, you've spoke about him in the past, right? About our concerns about Timothy Castagna. I think yesterday proved, if anything, we're worried about Tete and his fitness levels and remaining in the squad long enough at the moment. We really need to get a replacement right back because Timothy Castagna just isn't up to scratch at the moment.
Yeah, we do need to, as Drew is alluding to. It's just a really, really strange one how out of nowhere his performances have just dropped off of a cliff. He was a solid 6/7 out of 10 player all the time for us. We all knew he was better. That Tete was better than him, but Tete had the fitness issues and Castagna was a good, solid backup. To the point at the beginning of the season when we had Robinson out injured and Sessegnon hadn't yet hit the stride that he's hit, we were saying, oh no, these are bigger games. We should put Castagna at left back, actually utilise him. And I don't know what the hell has happened, but he's fallen off an absolute cliff. Maybe his legs finally... Maybe his age has finally caught up with him. I don't know. Maybe people have just figured out and got the better of him. But for Stoke, of all teams, I don't know how many positions there are between us and Stoke in the league at the between the leagues at the moment. There you go, 22. It's 22 league positions between us and Stoke knew to target Castagna. That wouldn't have happened of Castagna a year ago. They would have seen him as a solid option and they would have just, I don't know, played around different attacking areas like most football teams do. But it seems like every single time Castagna is on the pitch, he's targeted now. And it's just, maybe it's a confidence knock because of that targeting. I don't know. But the longer it goes on and the more we see Castagna play football for Fulham, the worse it's going to get.
Yeah, it was not acceptable on Sunday, and that's my problem. Right, I don't usually like to single out players to be like you were rubbish, but I thought Castagna he was noticeably bad, and that's the problem. He was the standout player because of how bad he was, and that's the concern for me, right? And that's where we have to go for it. But let's talk about some players that I thought really did perform well in the game, right? And Drew, we spoke about Kevin already and how he played in the game. We know that he probably needs some more Premier League knowledge, as we were, a little bit of Premier League nouns about him. But he is an exciting player to watch, right? How did you feel about watching him play yesterday?
I mean, setting aside the level of the opposition, he carried Fulham's biggest threat. If you read the Stoke forums, they were doing their nut about their right-hand side because they simply couldn't cope. Because I thought Robinson was decent, and you've made the point about Bob. I'm still over the moon we've got him, and I think he'll be a massive asset. I really do. But for the reasons you've pointed out, he's not quite there yet, and I'm not entirely sure he's an out-and-out winger. But Kevin clearly is. His decision making leaves somewhat to be desired. I mean, when he got through and he had that shot with his right foot instead of putting a slide rule pass to King, was not his best or finest moment. But hopefully the goal will help. And the goal he scored at Old Trafford, and it will breed confidence. And you're quite right, Ash. I mean, he's moved to a foreign country, playing in a new league. He's 22 years old. It's a learning curve, and there seems to have been a bit of a significant shift in Fulham's recruitment, because if you look who they've bought, I mean, they've bought Kevin, they've now bought Bob, and they're heavily linked with Pepe. None of those players are over 23. And obviously that means you could, in theory, have a team featuring King, ESR, Bob, Kevin, and Pepe, and that would massively reduce our average age of the squad, which ties in with what AJ's been talking about with Castagna. And age might have finally caught up with him, because I don't think Castagna is unprofessional. I don't think he doesn't try. I just think his time may have come. But Kevin, I mean, as long as it's difficult, isn't it, Ash? Because projecting forward, bearing in mind we only brought in one player in January, and we talked, didn't we, about how many expiring contracts we've got in the summer. We've given ourselves a significant amount of work. At the moment, on paper, our wide options look quite good with Sammy Chuck, Kevin, Wilson, Bob, even Sess if we want to move him up there. But if you think about the summer, Harry might not re-sign. By some act of biblical stupidity, Fulham might not make Samuel permanent. And then where are we? You can see how it all can change so quickly. But Kevin's clearly got talent. He's clearly someone we need to stick with. As long as he continues to work hard, he gets more experience, his decision making becomes better, he will be a real force. He will. I've got no doubt about it. What I would like to see, and we've talked about this as well, is variation in where he's used. I'd like to see him moved, him and especially Chukwueze, swap wings more, just to give us more variation. But yeah, he was no disrespect to Stoke, but he was looking like the player we thought we signed from Shakhtar, and fair play to him.
Yeah, I think you're completely correct. I think one of the things we have seen in signing Oscar Bob, especially, is versatility in players. Starting with a front four of Kevin, Bob, King, and Muniz. None of them are over 22 years old, right? That's an exceptionally young starting forward four, and that's something that we can build on. Bringing in Pepe to that too also brings in that them all being under the age of 24, which builds for the future, and that's a good way to go. And if that's where Fulham are going to be, and they're going to bring in one big name under the age of 22 every single year, we'll have a great team in 4 years' time. That's fine. That's the way it's going to be. But what's frustrating is that we got a lot of players here that are young and they need time to play, and they maybe not be given the opportunity. So this season, mainly out of Marco Silva's options because of injuries. What is good is we know Oscar Bob has the ability to play as a striker, as an attacking midfielder. We've all seen Josh King play as an attacking midfielder. He's also played deeper roles in the youth squad. He's played as a striker for the youth squad. Both Chukwueze and Kevin have played on both wings for their previous clubs. So there's options there for changing about and moving things around. I would like to see Kevin play on the right here and there, him and Chuck swapping it over during games, because it gives defenses something to think about. I would also love to see maybe Oscar Bob coming in as a second striker, because he can do it. Just again, during game, having that not as a full-time during the game, but having the ability to sort of move around during a game, because he just makes defenses have to think, and it gives you options that that we may not have had before, and that's good, and it's exciting to think about. You just got to hope that any manager that's there or comes in can be progressive.
I think I told you boys, my mate's been a Man City fan since the dawn of time. With Bob, he says before Bob's horrific injury, when he was starting to look like lightning in a bottle, Bob's preferred position apparently was coming in off the left and then filling that hole you're talking about behind the striker, Ash. So it'll be quite interesting, but his versatility, you're quite right. He just gives us options across the front, and I'm all for it.
It'll be interesting to see how we do going forward. But ultimately, we then grabbed the winner in the game. Another player who I thought was brilliant all day long in Harrison Reed. I thought he did a great job at controlling the ball, controlling the middle of the pitch. You know, his little legs don't carry him quite as much as Sander Berg's do, but my gosh, he covered some blades of grass. And he very fortunate with the way that we got our winner. You know, you've got to feel a bit sorry for Stoke's goalkeeper, who I thought was brilliant all day long, to concede the way they did. But that's what happens when you play against Premier League teams, right? You give them an opportunity, they will take it, and that's exactly what happened. We weren't giving ourselves those opportunities, so thanks Stoke for giving it to us. And then we find ourselves in the fifth round. That there's not really much more to say other than, you know, it was a good professional performance by Fulham. Yes, it would have been nice to score maybe 2 or 3 more goals, but you know what? I think the way that Stoke defended during the game, that may have been hard to do anyway. I was very impressed with is it Phillips, their defender, who
Nate Phillips, Liverpool,
yeah,
former Liverpool.
yeah, he put himself about so much during that game. I thought he was excellent.
I don't quite
know,
understand on that basis, that performance, why Stoke have struggled so much. Apparently, they've got a horrific injury list. But I
They
thought they
do.
played really well.
There were
They
some
do, but
excellent performances there.
they also struggle. They like us. They struggle to score goals. So I think that's
Do they?
their problem. They've struggled to score goals, and that's been their thing. But you know what? I think they did really well, and they gave us a hard game. And you know, ultimately, they can't ask for much more really than putting their foot in and having a good go. And we can't ask for much more than winning professionally, and that's what we did. Lads, let's finish just how we always do. Play, you know, man the match, honourable mentions. Drew, I'll start with you, mate. Can I get a couple of honourable mentions and your man of the match for the game, please?
Honourable mentions, King. It's nice to see him. You know, he looked energetic. I was quite pleased that Oscar Bob started. And I know it's been a long road back for him. Big upheaval leaving Man City. But I thought, yeah, he coped well. I thought Robinson, you know, he's come in for some stick recently, but he was okay. Our goalkeeper, what a save he pulled off to tip. Who was it? I can't remember the Stoke player. Cutting from the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cracking. But I mean, there's only one. I mean, you covered Harrison Reed. Love him. Got caught out for their counter, which they scored from. And you're quite right. His little legs don't carry him as quickly as they used to. But you can always count on Harrison Reed come rain, wind or shine. And we don't have enough of those players. But the man of the match has got to be Kevin. I mean, he was the tip of the spear.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout. AJ, how about yourself, mate? Honourable mentions and your man of the match.
I'd love to reiterate all of Drew's honourable mentions and then just add Diop as well, for he got unfairly yellow carded for just standing still in front of the goalkeeper at one point. It's not his fault. He's bigger than the entire of Stoke's defence. You can't. Apparently, you can yellow card people for being a man mountain nowadays. Otherwise, I thought, considering the circumstances, he had a pretty good performance. But my man of the match is undoubtedly Kevin. What a performance! And I hope to see that against some stronger opposition soon too.
Yeah, for me, I reiterate pretty much both of you. Really, I think that there were some really good performances in there. You know, I thought Harrison Reed was brilliant, as I said. I thought Bob looked good, although you can tell he wasn't pushing himself quite as much as he probably could have done. And Diop was good. You know, I'd even say Robinson was really good too. I've been a bit critical of him last couple of weeks and the performances he's put in, because we've been moaning about his speed rather than anything else. I thought we saw a lot of overlapping runs with him and Kevin yesterday that looked really good. But it has to be Kevin for man of the match for me. I think it's an undoubtable from all three of us, Kevin. Not only did he get the goal to equalise and bring us back in the game, but he was our only outlet from the majority of the first half and for most of the second. He looked dangerous every time we got the ball. And it's good that we seem to have a player that other teams are starting to take notice of, not because they could potentially sign them, but because they don't want him running at them. And I think that makes a nice change for Fulham to have that the ability to know that we probably have someone that once he gets a little bit more up to speed with English Premier League football, and he starts getting his decision making a bit more on par with where they should be, he could be really, really dangerous. Right, thanks very much for joining me on this one, lads. It's been great to review what was a decent FA Cup game. We look forward to Southampton at home in the next round. Another difficult Championship team to play against. They've had a few decent results of late. Not excusing being 3-0 down and winning 4-3 last week. So there's going to be a couple of, they're going to be up for it, and then enjoy coming to the cottage. And it will be a difficult game, but hopefully we can get through to the next round from this one. Everyone who's watching, thanks for joining us. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. Share with your Fulham mates. Let people know about us, because we are trying to grow the channel. Also, look out for us on TikTok, where I'm trying to push myself to do at least 1 or 2 TikTok videos a day on Fulham at the moment, just to sort of talk about some things that are coming up, just to help us grow there. Share it if you can. Come and follow us on that platform. We'll be back on Friday for our preview of Sunderland away coming up this Sunday. Another difficult away game for Fulham coming up this weekend.
I'm going.
I guess the football team I have a lot of respect for, have family, the support, and live in the area as well. So, it's going to be a difficult game for Fulham. It's going to be a difficult one for us to preview, and probably Fulham to play in. So we'll see you for that on Friday. Not really much more to say other than have a good week. Enjoy your pancakes, because this is coming out on Pancake Day, obviously. And we'll see you soon. Come on, you Whites.